ಗತ ಕಲಿಯುಗಾಬ್ಧ 5110 ಶ್ರೀ ವಿರೋಧಿ ನಾಮ ಸಂವತ್ಸರ ಮಾಘ ಮಾಸ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಪಕ್ಷ ಷಷ್ಠಿ ಚಿತ್ತಾ ನಕ್ಷತ್ರ ಬೃಹಸ್ಪತಿವಾರ the 4th day of February 2010. Shubhodayam, welcome you all for this Maitri-Balan session. Krishna gave the message of yoga in the form of the beautiful poetry. That's why it is Bhagavad Gita. There, Arjuna represents not just himself, but he represents the whole of mankind. That is why he speaks to Arjuna about various paths of yoga. What the path of yoga which suits Arjuna, at the end of it he chooses. And that's what is fighting the war, which is supposed to be the essential aspect of the Karma Yoga. But then, in the process of convincing Arjuna that he is supposed to do this Karma Yoga, Krishna explains all the different paths of yoga. Maybe because of the idea that Arjuna should not be left with an idea at the back of his mind if he does not know about the other paths of yoga, that there may be something which is superior than this, what he has chosen. If there are several paths that are there, if you have not really known about everything, and then you choose one path, then maybe at the back of your mind, the idea will be lingering. Should have done something else other than this. So that is the reason probably Krishna has given the whole area of yoga he has explained in the whole of Bhagavad Gita. And finally, let Arjuna to choose what he feels comfortable with. And that's why Krishna says in the 18th chapter of Gita, Yathechasi tatha kuru, do whatever you want to do it. And then finally, to fight the war is the choice of Arjuna. And then fight the war in what way? Yogasthaha kuru karmani. In a yoga way. So that means to say, he chose the path of Karma Yoga. But then Bhagavad Gita gives all other paths of yoga also. And that's what, in the Raja Yoga Shloka Sangraha, we have a very beautiful sutra which is taken from Arjuna. And then a reply to that from Krishna gives us the whole picture of it. Arjuna asks Krishna, Chanchalam hi Manaha Krishna Pramade Balavadradham Tasyaham Nigraham Manye Vayori Vasudushkaram. Hey Krishna, my mind is chanchala, it is wandering. It is not fixed on one particular object. It is continuously oscillating. Pramade Balavadradham, it is so difficult to control the mind. It is easy to control the wind. Vayori Vasudushkaram. That's what is the objection that Arjuna raises. There is an important understanding by using this particular example of wind, because wind is something that you do not see. Mind also is similar to the wind that you do not see. They have similar property. But at least you can build a wall against the wind so that wind does not come beyond the wall. But then, for mind you cannot build a wall. In fact, the moment that you build a wall, mind is on the other side of the wall, what is happening there. You cannot control the mind. There is another important point that he brings about, Vayu Sudushkaram. Vayu also is the expression given to Pranavayu, the breath. Whether you are doing some activity or not doing an activity, whether you are angry, whether you are upset, whether you are happy, elated, you are wakeful, or whether you are in a deep sleep, this pranavayu, breath, is something which is constantly going on. It doesn't ask your permission. It goes on all the time. But then even this breath, you can hold it for a moment. Like for example, I can say, inhale and hold the breath for a count of 20 or 10. You can do that. In fact, many times the medical professionals, they do that to find out what is your lung capacity, etc. At least for that few seconds you can control the breath. But mind is something you cannot even control that half a second. Like for example, if I say, let us sit for meditation, but let us not think of breakfast, mind immediately has gone to breakfast. Finish. You cannot control it. When Arjuna says that, Krishna does not tell Arjuna that, look, you are a useless fellow. I suggest you something. You say it is not possible. Come on, it is battlefield. You have to hurry up. Do something now. Doesn't say that. He says, Arjuna, I accept you. Asamshayam Mahabhaho. I have absolutely no doubt about it. Manaha Durnigraham. Mind is very difficult to control. But though it is difficult, it is not impossible. You can control it. In fact, the very question of quiet state of mind, how can you reach it? When Arjuna asked that question, deep from his heart, there are two important things that indicate. One is that the quiet state of mind should be there inside. You must have had the experience. That's why you are asking for something. If that quiet state of mind is not there, then you wouldn't have asked that question. You don't go to somebody and ask the question that how can I fly in the air? You cannot fly because that's something which is not possible. Yeah, how can I swim in the water, you ask? Because swimming in the water is something which is possible. The same way that mind, quiet state may be somewhere here and there in your experience. And not only that, it is something which is coveted, which is interesting, which is important. So that's why you are asking, how to reach that? So the very fact of the questioning this particular thing, how to reach that state, shows that it is something which is a superior position, and that is something which is once in a while, in my experience, only thing is that I don't go to that as a master. So how can I control it? How can I achieve that? That's what Krishna says to Arjuna. It is not impossible to control it. It is difficult, but it is not impossible. You can go to that state. And that is what he gives. There are two ways that you can reach that. Abhyasena tu kaunteya, vairagyena cha druhyate. This abhyasa and vairagya, these are the two methods. And not only that these are the two paths, but more important thing is, they complement each other. That is why tu is used in Sanskrit. That means to say both abhyasa and vairagya we need to employ. Now, this particular idea that Krishna has given, the same thing is carried verbatim by Patanjali, who gives us the philosophy of yoga essentially to calm down the mind, to control the mind. That is what the definition of yoga Patanjali gives in his second sutra. That is yogaha chitta vritti nirodha. And how to reach that state of chitta vritti? Patanjali gives us the idea, abhyasa vairagyabhyam tad nirodha. The chitta vritti nirodha. How do you do it? Abhyasa vairagyabhyam. These are the two things. And the same thing, Yoga Vasishtha. Vasishtha also mentions, but in a different way, he gives a different expression. Maybe it looks much more elaborate in that way. He says, Dvokramo chittanashaya. There are two methods by which you can do the chittanasha. Yogam jnanam charaghava. This is what is the dialogue between Vasishtha and Arjuna. And Vasishtha, Rama, and Vasishtha says, Dvokramo chittanashaya. Chittanasha can happen in two ways. How? Yoga jnanam charaghava. Yoga tat vrittirodho hi jnanam samyagavekshanam. Yoga is actually vritti nirodha, that is disciplining, and jnanam samyagavekshanam, and that's what is inner self, recognizing the inner self, or leave the outside and go inside. That's what is similar to Vairagya. So it looks like that Acharyas from several thousands of years agreed with the point that there are two different paths by which you can control.